Sri Ramakrishna was a mystic saint of Bengal, born in the year 1836. उनकी जन्म एक अद्भुत कहानी है. उनके पिताजी इतनी सज्जन व्यक्ति थे, सारे गांव के लोग जब वो स्नान करने के लिए जाते थे रास्ता छोड़ देते थे. जब वो तालाब में उतरते थे बाकी सब लोग हट के चुप रहते थे. वो स्नान करके जाने के बाद ही बाकी लोग स्नान करते थे. He went on a pilgrimage to the famous Gaya, and after his worship etc. he had a wonderful dream where he saw the Lord Vishnu appearing before him and telling him that he would like to be born as his son. He was quite taken aback क्योंकि वो तो बहुत ही एक गरीब ब्राह्मण थे, and he was such a noble person. He would not accept ordinary priestly duties which would bring lot of money. So उनका साधारण रूप से एक गरीब संसार रहा. So he said, Lord, how can I take care of you? लेकिन भगवान उनकी बताया, तुम जो मेरे को खिलाओगे उसी से मैं संतुष्ट रहूँगा. Then after his dream broke, he saw in that close by a beautiful Raghuveer Sheela which he brought along with him on his way back. At the same time, his wife Chandramani Devi, she was worshipping in the Shiva temple very close to their house. It's called Jugi's Shiva Mandir. There, while worshipping, she was so absorbed and she was in a kind of trance. Suddenly she saw a ray of light emanating from the Shivlinga and entering her womb, and suddenly she felt she was carrying a child. So that is how Sri Ramakrishna was born. Of course, in modern times, people may question about this authenticity etc. of such visions, but this is what we get from a very authentic narrative of his life. That apart, that's maybe for the believers and all that. But if you go through the incidents of his life, it would be beyond doubt that he was an extraordinary spiritual giant, gifted with amazing spiritual powers. So that is how he was born, just like the Immaculate Conception of Jesus Christ. So from his boyhood, he showed extraordinary spiritual tendencies. So he had, there are several instances of his getting into states of trance etc. even at a very early age. But because the Raghuveer Sheela was brought by Khudiram, that was kind of the family deity, and he also got the right to worship after his after he was infested with the sacred thread. So, but then from a very young age, he was not interested in the normal pursuit of academics. So he used to say that why people are pursuing this kind of academic education. Imagine in 1836 what is being done today, that he had indicated. This running after this kind of education for the sake of bread and butter or for the sake of earning, he completely abhorred this kind of an idea and he refused to even go to school. But he was so gifted, whatever he would hear once he could retain perfectly, and he had stupendous memory. So he was a kind of a maverick genius in a sense, you might say. So वैसे ही उन्होंने बड़े होके भी इधर उधर साधन में व्यस्त रहते थे. There used to be a smashan or a burning heart near his house in that area. So he would go there and sit and spend hours in spiritual practices. So he was born with that kind of extraordinary spiritual tendencies. So in the meanwhile, when he was quite young, he lost his adoring father, and that was a great shock for this young boy. That only made him be more aware of the transitory nature of this world, and he was into deeper sadhana, you might say. So, when he was a little more grown up, his elder brother found that this boy was not doing anything useful in terms of earning. So, he was actually serving as a priest in several homes in Calcutta, and he took this boy also along with him. By the time he was a kind of fairly grown up person, he was around 19-20 years. So, he went to Calcutta at that time, and then right around that period there was a great lady. She was originally from a fisherman caste, but then she was married to a very big zamindar of the Jan Bazar, and she became the custodian of wealth, etc. after the passing away of his husband. She was extremely capable. She was called Rani Rasmani. So, she wanted to go to Benares, etc. But then even while she was proceeding, she had a vision to install a temple of the Divine Mother in a particular place which was quite propitious for such activities. So, that is how she got a very beautiful Kali image made, and also built a wonderful temple, a Kali temple at Dakshineswar. But then at the time of time for consecration came, none of the Brahmin priests were willing to do it because she was from a lower caste. So, then somebody suggested, why don't you go and ask for solution from Ramkumar Chattopadhyay, the elder brother of Sri Ramakrishna, and he would give you the solution because he is extremely learned. She went to him, and he said that if you can ceremoniously gift this temple to a Brahmin, then it becomes his property, and then the Brahmins need not have any hesitation in performing the dedication. But then she got hold of him, you become that person, and that is how he got into the dedication ceremony. It was an extraordinary function. After that, in fact, Ramkumar continued to do the worship of the Divine Mother. There are many famous temples there, the most famous one being a temple dedicated to Mother Kali, and then there is also a beautiful temple for Radha Krishna, and then the other side, along the bank of the Ganges, there are 12 Shiva temples, small Shiva temples. So, it is a very beautiful complex. So, he was doing the worship of the Divine Mother, but unfortunately he also died. So, then in the meanwhile, Sri Ramakrishna was just, he was kind of a maverick, he was roaming about, he was not even taking food in the temple. He used to buy, very, those days, they used to call 1 pi, 2 pi, like that, pies worth of this fried rice, or this what you call that, murmura, they would say, that he would buy, and that he would eat somehow and satisfy his hunger, drink water, and he was just. But then the son of that Rani Rasamani, Mathur Babu, saw that this person was extraordinarily talented, because using clay, he would make such beautiful models of gods and goddesses. This person was amazed. He somehow felt that here is a person who could really make the image of Mother Kali living, because the way he was shaping and preparing the images, and his concentration and his devotion and his complete, this abstracted nature, being away from the bustle and din and noise of city, although living there, he somehow felt deeply attracted and caught hold of him. He said, you must do the worship. He said, no, I can't do all that. There are so many ornaments and this and that, I can't take care of all that. And he said, no, we will appoint somebody to do all that, you only do the worship. That is how Sri Ramakrishna came to Dakshineswar and started worshipping Mother Kali. Actually, from birth he was dedicated to Lord Raghuveer because that was the family deity, and of course he was otherwise also a deeply devoted by nature. His boyhood name which his parents gave was Gadadhar Chattopadhyay. So they all used to call him as Gadai Gadai. At some point of time, we do not know how this name Ramakrishna came to him. It's a kind of a mystery. But at one point of time during his discussion with Swami Vivekananda, at that time in fact he was only Narendranath, he had not yet become a monk. So it was almost the last days of Sri Ramakrishna. Narendranath was a person who was extremely rational by nature and wouldn't accept anything just like that. So time and again he tested Sri Ramakrishna to find out how genuinely spiritual he was. So Sri Ramakrishna suffered throat cancer, and he had become virtually skin and bone. He was so emaciated. He was lying down, he could hardly speak, could hardly get up. He had stopped taking solid food months ago. At that point of time, so naturally when we are suffering, when we are full of pain and agony and all that, naturally our minds also they come down. Narendranath then decided, if now he declares who he is, if he reveals his real nature, I will believe. Instantaneously Sri Ramakrishna said, Naren, you still have doubts? He who came as Rama, he who came as Krishna has incarnated in this body as Ramakrishna, but not in your Vedantic sense. So from that time we hear everywhere his name is being referred to as Ramakrishna, whether I don't think anyone formally gave him the name, but somehow that name got stuck to him from the idea he was the incarnation of Rama and Krishna in the same body. So go back to our narrative. So that is how he came to the Kali temple. But he neither knew the formalities of worship, nor was he familiar with the rituals. The only asset, the only possession he had was devotion of an extraordinary nature. So he came, he would worship the mother in his own way. He would not observe any of the formalities. Sometimes he would place the flowers on his head and then he would offer them to mother. Sometimes a cat would come, the bhoga or the offerings for the mother will be ready. Oh mother, you have come in the form of a cat. He would first offer the fried luchi etc. to the cat and then offer to the mother. But day and night he was possessed with one idea. He must have the vision of mother whom he felt was true, real, but then was not revealing herself to him. So day and night he would weep, he would shed tears, he would cry with intense longing or vyakulata that, oh mother, why don't you reveal yourself? He would roll on the floor, on the muddy floor of Dakshineshwar, and people would think that, oh, this man maybe is suffering from colic pain, पेट की दर्द है, उसी से ऐसे ही लूट रहे हैं. Then it went on and on for months and for a long time. Finally one day he decided that every day he would say at the end of the day, before sunset, one more day has gone, mother, you have not revealed yourself to me. And then at the finally one day it became so impossible. He said, there is no point in living in this body anymore. Let me put an end to this life. In the mother's temple, just behind her, there is a khadga. It's a kind of you can say, Indian form of a sword or something like that, but it's shaped a little differently. That's used for actually cutting animals, etc. So he saw that, I took it in his hand and said, right now I will put an end to my life because mother is not revealing herself to me. But accepting having her full vision, there were several occasions when he had really got some glimpse or other of the real existence of the mother. Anyway, to cut this story short, at that very moment, he had an extraordinary spiritual experience. He saw the whole temple, every place was flooded with light, and he was losing his external consciousness. And within that sea or ocean of light, he saw and felt the presence of the Divine Mother. That was his first major spiritual experience.